Hey guys, welcome to today's tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a foam head base for a fursuit. To start off with, I am marking out the circumference of my head and the length of my head from two different places. The longest one is the top of the center of my head and the shorter one is just chin to forehead. Then I'm just gluing this together to make a cylinder. Then from the cylinder, I'm gluing the middle of the top together and then the points as well. And basically you just want to keep gluing and trimming bits off until you have a round top. I recommend doing the corners one at a time just so you don't get these weird spread open holes that don't have enough space to stick back together. Then I'm just marking where the nose and the eyes are, taking my eye template and marking that onto the base just so I have a rough idea of where I want to place everything. Then I'm drawing out my template for the muzzle, which is just the shape that I want it to be, and I'm cutting that out, and I leave a gap for where the nose is going to be attached, sort of like a flat edge. Then I do the same with the bottom jaw. I add a little bit of extra length onto the bottom jaw that will be cut on a curve to sort of create a bit more of a cohesive smile. Then I cut out 4 pieces of each of these out of 1-inch foam. I also cut out 2 of the 1-inch foam pieces that are my nose template. And then I glue them together, and then I glue the bottom jaw and the top jaw pieces on top of each other as well. Then I just mark out on the bottom jaw where I want to trim everything. So this is to create a more rounded shape and to create that sort of curve in the back so that it lays down with a bit more of a smile. Once I'm happy with the base shape, I mark in where I want the indent of the inside of the mouth to be, and I cut that out and do some more shaping. I had a lot of problems with the bottom jaw of this base, and you'll see me go back and forth a lot on it trying to get it right. Eventually I was pretty happy with the end product. Then I just trim the nose down to the shape that I want it to be. This is just a really basic canine nose. I ended up trimming it back a little bit so that it wasn't quite as pointy. And then I glue that onto the muzzle before I've actually started carving the muzzle, just so I know where everything is going to sit. From there I start carving the muzzle. I do the same as I did with the bottom jaw. I cut out the inside of the mouth where, you know, the teeth and the gums are going to be. And then I start carving the muzzle itself, rounding it out and making it look like a nice little doggy jaw. I ended up adding an extra circle of foam because I didn't think that it was squishy enough, so just add what you need and carve it down till you're happy. I mark out on the head base where I want the top and bottom jaw to sit before gluing them on, just so I have a bit of a better idea of where I'm going to be gluing. And then I glue the top jaw on first and just hold it on there until it's fully glued so that it doesn't start to fall off. And then I glue the bottom jaw on as well. And that was when I kind of realized that the jaw wasn't sitting how I wanted to do. So I just kind of went back and forth trying to make it look how I wanted it to. Sorry, this bit's not really in frame. Then I cut out the inside of the mouth, so that'll be the ventilation hole, before gluing on the bottom jaw. I make some alterations to the eye placement after the muzzle has been stuck on, just because I'm not super great at gluing things symmetrically, apparently. And then I trim down the muzzle a little bit more so that there's space for the eyes. Then to make the eyebrow piece, I put a little tracing of my eye shape onto a piece of paper and then just draw out sort of a big brow kind of ridge shape. And I also do a big lumpy thing with a smaller end. That's my cheek shape. And then I just check and make sure that they fit against my base. So I cut these out of foam and I just stuck them on, the smaller end going towards the muzzle. Then I added some extra padding onto the cheeks to give it a little bit more shape before carving. And for the eyebrow piece, I just made it symmetrical and cut out one big piece to stick on. Then I just start carving away, same as with the muzzle, just cutting down the shapes until I'm happy with how smooth they are and the placement of everything. And I went back and forth again onto that stupid jaw because it was giving me a lot of trouble. I was trying to flatten out the edge and also make it a little bit smaller without losing, the definition of the inside of the mouth. I still ended up with a slightly longer jaw than I was anticipating, but as this is a wolf-dragon hybrid, I think the longer jaw actually works a little bit for the species. I leave most of the area around the eyes uncarved, as I will add to that once the eyes are actually in. Then I just make a template for my ears, just a rough shape that I want, with a rough idea of how the curve of the head will be. And then I cut that out and I test it against the head base to make sure that it will sit okay. Once I'm happy with that, I cut it out of the foam. Again, 1-inch foam, I do one full piece and then I cut out the little inner ear bits and do a piece for those as well that'll be layered on top. And then just glue them together. Once they're glued, I start carving them down, rounding out the edges, and just generally tidying them up, making sure that it looks how I want it to. I like doing these defined edges because it just gives a little bit more shape to the ears and makes them look a little bit more realistic. Then I just mark where I want them on the head. I go back and forth on this a couple of times to make sure that they're where I want them and that there will be enough space for any hair poofs or horns or anything that's going to have to go in between the ears. Once I'm happy with the placement, I glue them on. I decided I actually wanted to add a little bit more padding to the cheeks, so I just went and did that. This is a very give and take kind of craft. You could leave it here if you wanted just a basic canine head base, but as this one is a wolf dragon, I'm also going to show you how I made the horns. So I basically, again, just cut out a little paper template of the shape that I think I want, and then I test that against the head to make sure it's the right shape, and then I carve them out of foam. So these 3 little ones will be on the muzzle, and the 2 big horns will be up on the forehead. I cut out 2 pieces for each horn out of the 1-inch foam, just so I had a bit of room to carve down and make everything nice and round and smooth. If you only do a 1-inch piece, then you'll end up with really thin horns because you have to carve it down. But the finished horns are not much wider than 1 inch anyway. And I just mark them on the head to make sure I have the positioning right. I did fiddle around with this a little bit. It has been a while since I've done horns on a suit, but ultimately I was happy with the placement. That is the basics of how I make a head base. Tune in for the next tutorial, which will be how to make and insert the eyes into this head base. Thanks for watching!